Hey, and welcome back to another Revit video. In this video, we're going to look at view templates and hopefully everything that you might need to know about view templates and how they work, when to use them, and everything. So before we get into it, if you happen to learn something at any point in this video, please demolish that like button. It helps me out a lot. Also, consider changing the phase of that subscribe button to existing. All right, let's get into it right now. We're talking about view templates. View templates are a very integral part of Revit and how they work to help organize your views and documents. They are something that help you streamline organizing the views on all your documents, of course. But what do they do really? And let's get into it. Before we get into it exactly, I do want to say that if you have not watched either my video on visibility graphics or any other video on visibility graphics, I would highly recommend that you do that and familiarize yourself with all the visibility graphics and all those different options that you have for views, because all of that applies directly to view templates because we're essentially using the visibility graphics to apply those to templates and then have those templates on whatever views we want to streamline all of those different properties everywhere and all the views that we choose. So that will show up in the cards now. If you have not seen that video, again, I recommend that you do that first and then come back to this one. Okay, so I'm in just a blank project and I wanted to show you a blank project and what you're going to get as far as view templates go. And then I wanted to jump into a project of mine that it does have different names of visibility graphics and templates, but it's kind of all the same. So I want to start with a template so you have an idea of what you're starting with and then what you can get to with something that I've changed myself. And it's not necessarily that it's crazy out there, but I've just renamed things in a way to where it's organized and it just makes a little more sense. So every view has properties, and I'm just in the view and you can see the properties here. It's a floor plan. I've done nothing to this project. We could see that I've got all my views, properties here. Everything is normal, how you would expect. But when I come down to the identity data here, there's a view template, and I can see it says none because I don't have a view template applied. And of course, I've got the name and everything else. But we're going to be working with the view template. But before we even start to apply a view template or anything, let's go to where we can find all of our view templates and what we can do. So in the View tab, you'll see View Templates over here at the left. And then we have the option of applying a template property to the current view. We have the option of creating a template from the current view. And then we have the ability to manage view templates. So I'm just going to manage the view templates here, and we'll cover the other two in the other project. So here we go. These are all the different view templates that I have. They're all filtered down by discipline. You can filter them down by discipline or by view type. So because I went to manage them all, essentially, I can see all of them. And so I basically never pay attention to the disciplines as far as the view templates go. Now, of course, if your office, your firm, or if you work within multiple disciplines, then obviously I would highly recommend that you do that. So if I were to hit architectural, we could see we lose some of our structural view templates. If I click structural, we could see all of those. Because I'm just an architect and only work in architecture, I tend to just not worry about that because I know I'm only working on architecture. The view type filters do come into play here because it's just a way of better filtering down or organizing what view templates you have based on the type of view that you want to apply it to. Now, I will say before I even look at any of these different types, that you can apply any view template to any kind of view. It doesn't have to be a particular floor plan or a RCP. It could be anything. And that's good and bad. Maybe you like the way the settings are, the properties are of a particular ceiling plan, and you want to apply that to just an enlarged floor plan, you can do that. But just know that there are better ways of doing that and filtering it down. So there's 3D views, there's ceiling plans, elevation sections and details, and then floor plans and whatnot. So it just makes sense. So these are all the defaults that you will see within Revit, and all of these have their own different properties. And you'll notice as I click on one, we've got different check marks over here, unchecked or checked. And if you're familiar with visibility properties at all, you could see here is visibility properties, and everything here is visibility properties. So imagine that any one of these templates is like any view that you could edit yourself and change as far as view properties go. But the idea is that you have this set up as a template, and then you can apply this template to any view that you want. And it makes getting views looking consistent very easy. That's kind of the point here. So if I look at architectural plan, we can start to see why this is powerful. So we've got the scale, we've got absolutely everything that we might want. And the nice part is, not only can you set this the way you want, but you can also monitor how many views are applied, or have this view templates that they're using. So at the top right here, you can see number of views with this template assigned. And of course, I said 0 because I haven't assigned any view template to any particular view. But it's nice because maybe you have a ton of view templates and you want to go through and just purge them out. You want to delete them, whatever. It's easy enough to just select through these and see how many have 0 assigned views. If you're later on in a project, you've kind of dealt with all your views, you can just start deleting the view templates with 0 applied, with assigned to 0 views. It doesn't make sense to keep holding those. So of course you can have as many as you want and not have to worry about that, but it's something nice that you could see. Well, at certain points you have large projects, you have certain plan details, and you have like 20 different plan detail views. This number will populate up to 20, and it's really nice to know how much of an impact you're having, because the idea is once I've assigned any number of views to this particular view template, as I make changes, it's going to change all of those views at once. And that's, it's kind of scary, but at the same time, that's the power of view templates. That's why we want to use it, because we can change tons of views at once we've gone to the trouble of applying them to those views, because, it's really important to be able to have that control over a vast number of views that are actually the same and you want to look the same. So there's really not much else to cover within the view properties, because again, that's another video in of itself, visibility graphics, everything there. But the last thing that's specific to view templates are these include checkboxes. And so you'll notice that some or mostly are checked and some are not checked. So if it's checked, that just means it's included, of course, included in the view template. And that means whatever you choose as far as these properties will apply to the view template. Now, if I suddenly decide, I don't want to include the scale. Well, what is that actually going to do? That means that if I have an architectural plan and I've applied this template to it, that means I have control of the view scale per view instead of per view template in this case. So if I were to include the view back into the scale, I would not have control over the scale within individual views. It would all default back to the view template. So that's really great. You might have a particular case where this particular plan, it needs to be at a different scale, but I want to use this view template. Well, there's a couple things you could do. You could duplicate the view template, and you might have multiple view templates based on the scales. There's a ton of different ways you could do it, but you also might say, well, I have a bunch of different plans that I want to look the same, but they're at different scales. So I just disclude the scale, and then I can change the scale for every particular view, while everything else within the view template looks the exact same, operates the same. So all my plans still look the same. They're just at different scales. That's a way to do it. But that can apply to anything. If you it can apply to shadows or all the visibility graphic overrides of these model elements. They can all be applied in that way. Something that I use particularly with ceiling plans and certain details is I definitely want to make sure, and of course this is just me, and it depends on the type of project, the situation, anything. But if it's a plan detail, I probably want to keep the view range discluded or not included within the view template, so I can change that view range myself. I can literally call out that particular plan, that enlarged detail in plan, and then in the detail, in the view itself, I can change, the elevation in which that plan's cutting, while having it look the exact same as all my other plan details. It kind of makes sense. And as you go through this, it'll make sense as to why you might want to do this and when you want to, duplicate, create another one, anything like that. So that will do it for the default. So let's start to look at a real project here. So I've got a real project here. It's, just a basic floor plan. There's really nothing special here. I've got a topography. I've kind of got everything that we might want to look at. So if we come over here and look at level 1, I've got level 1 here. And I've got an enlarged plan, a couple of them called out. but I want to go directly to my view template. So I can go to view templates, manage view templates, and we can see, you know, this is what I've started to do as far as, differentiating from the base Revit template. It's not all that different. I just have chose to organize it a different way. It's renaming things in a certain way. Of course, these are all plan views, and it does tend to fall into that category there. But again, this is all up to you. You can rename these however you want. It's not a huge deal at all, but you can really do whatever you want. So at this point, I have everything that I need, and I want to start applying some of these templates. So this is just, it's an overall floor plan. So I happen to have a plan construction, and it makes sense. And you can see I've got one other view applied to it. So that's fine. Let's go ahead and apply that to this view. And really nothing happens because I just basically took default settings. So there's nothing all that special there. Okay, so let's go to our site plan. We have the site plan here, of course, but let's go and apply our view template. So I've got, of course, none, and then by default, because I opened up a site plan view or a floor plan view, it filtered to the floor plans. It makes sense. Now, of course, like I said before, I can click to all and I can choose absolutely any one that I want, whether it makes sense or not. But I want to go back to the floor plans and the site plan. It just makes sense. And you can see here that I've decided to keep the view scale unincluded with the template. That means if I have other site plans or other details within site plans, maybe I want to use this template to show everything that you might want to see on the site and change the scale per view, because there are a lot of times where there's specific things you want to see on a site plan that you don't want to see on a regular floor plan. So I'll just go ahead and apply this. That makes sense. There we go. Pretty simple. Let's go back to our level 1 here. And we've got a few different enlarged plans. And of course, it's kind of all the same. I've got an enlarged plan for the single restroom down here, as well as all these restroom banks here. And it's nice because I can actually click both of them at once. I can apply the view template, and I want to apply a different view template. I want to take this construction and I want to change the view template in, just slightly, because I don't want to, this is not an overall, these are enlarged. So I probably want to take this construction, this regular floor plan, and go ahead and duplicate this. So I will just call this plan enlarged. And again, you can call this whatever you want. So now this plan enlarged and plan construction are exactly the same. And you'll notice that I have one view assigned to the plan construction, which I just applied. And then I have 0 because I have not applied any to this enlarged template. But at this point, the main thing I want to do is change the scale. And I want this to be universal. So let's go ahead and change this to, half an inch. It could be really anything, but half an inch. These are, obviously enlarged plans. And the reason I duplicated from the overall is because I want them essentially to look like the overalls, but at a higher scale. That's really kind of it. But like I said before, there might be a time where I need to look up and down, change the cut of where I am actually cutting through on my plan detail. So I want to disclude the view range so I have complete control over that in individual views. So I can still see my callouts on plans and change the cut within those individual views. So I've got the view range, and of course, anything else that you would want to change here is all the same. Absolutely anything else. Okay. So we'll hit OK. That's great. I'm going to go into one of these views here, and we can see, that's kind of what I want. Now, I can always come back into my enlarged plan template, and I can change anything that I want. So if I want to change the scale, if I want to do this, I want to do that. If for some reason I want to go to plumbing and actually hide the plumbing, I can't imagine that you'd want to do that unless, you're having a mechanical engineer, plumbing engineer, someone show those and you not show them. But just as an example, I can come in here, I can hide my plumbing fixtures, hit OK, and I can see my plumbing fixtures go away, but they not only go away in this view, but they'll go away in this enlarged view as well. I don't see any plumbing fixtures. And so you could see that the power that we start to get to have with using these view templates. I can do so many things and show many things so quickly that it's obvious that you want to use these whenever you can. Okay, that's great. So I probably want to undo that because I do want to see my plumbing fixtures. That's kind of the point to a degree. But one thing I want to do is I'll go back to my level 1 here, and I've called out what you might call a plan detail. And maybe you would call this out in an enlarged plan, but I don't have one. So I'm just go ahead and putting this here. And it's just the jam for this garage door and this double door. And so let's go ahead and look at that. I've got it right here. And so this is a detail that you might have to do. And but the thing I want to be aware is if we actually look in 3D, there's a distinct difference between what is there in the view by default and what I want to see. So if I come around, the detail is actually right here. So I've got brick up to 3 feet, and then above that, some other material. In this case, I want to actually cut through the brick and make sure that I can, detail what the plan details like when I'm cutting through the brick as opposed to this other material. In this case, I'd probably have two different details, but in this case, I want to do the detail where I'm cutting through the brick. So how would I do that? Well, if you remember, I do have plan details. And in this case, I'd probably go ahead and make a plan detail. So in this case, again, I'd probably duplicate this and I'd call this plan detail. And again, this is just me doing kind of how I would work. And so I have the view template called plan detail. And I probably want to change the scale again. So maybe I would change this to 3/4 or something. That's fine. But again, particularly, I want to make sure the view range is discluded so I can have full control. And so we can see if I'm just looking at this the way it is, obviously this is not brick on the exterior. I want to make sure I can see the brick and start to cut through the brick. But the thing to be aware of is I want to start to look at everything that I have control over within the view and that I don't. So I don't have control over any of these options because this is all baked into the view template. So if for some reason you see all of these things grayed out, and even if I hit VG for visibility graphics, all of this is grayed out. I can't do anything. None of this whatsoever can be changed right here within this view. And that's because I have a view template applied. And you'll know that if you see things grayed out, you've got a view template applied. So first look for that. So obviously I can see here, yes, I just made this plan detail, and that's great. I can click on this, I can do whatever I want, and that will change everything. But what is not included will no longer be grayed out. What's not included within the view template, which a number of these things are not included. So the underlay, the view range, all these color schemes, that's fine. But particularly the view range is what I want to look at. So of course, like before, all these are grayed out, but the view range is not. I have full control over this, and this is per view. So I could change this per view that has this plan detail view template applied. So I know that my brick is up to 3 feet, so maybe I want to cut at 2.5 feet. I'll hit apply, and that's perfect. I could see my brick. And nothing about this view template was changed. Everything that was changed in this particular view was not a part of the view template. So that's something to be aware of as well. And that is really also the power of view templates, that you can start to include or not pieces that you want to have control over in each view or overall in all the views. And so just like in visibility graphics, I have full control over my work sets, over absolutely everything, filters. You can apply all these different things to your template, and it's really powerful to be able to do that. Let's look at something else that's a bit different, because we not only looked at all of our view templates, but of course all the properties and like full control that we have over all the view templates. But I want to first look at these other options that we have, which is apply template properties to current view or create template from current view. So I'm in just an RCP of this same model, and I want to apply a view template. So I can always come up here and apply template properties to current view. And it's going to bring up the same view template as if I were to come over here and choose view template. It's going to do the exact same thing, and I can apply this no problem. Okay, that's great. But I actually want to do something else. So I've removed that template, and so I have no template on this particular view at this time. So that's nice. But I want to start to change what I can see and what's a little different. So, I want to come into the visibility graphics, and I'm not using a template right now for a particular reason, because I want to create a template based on the settings of a particular view, in this case, this view. So let's go ahead and go to ceilings, and I'm just going to make this look a bit different and change some of the things that we're looking at here. Let's go ahead and make this a solid fill, a light blue. Okay. And then maybe we'll add a little transparency to that with 50% transparency, and we can hit OK. So there we go. We've got all of our ceilings that I currently have in the project at a 50% opacity and they're blue. Okay. So, maybe that, maybe we want to make a view template from this view for the purposes of, creating a presentation. Maybe I've made this view look the way I want to based on all the visibility graphics, based on all the view properties, everything down here, and I've decided, that looks good. I want this to be a view template. So I can come up here and I can go to view template and I can choose create template from current view. So when I do this, I'm just simply prompted to make a new view. So I might call this RCP presentation because that might be what this is. It's a RCP presentation, something like that. I'll hit OK. And boom, as soon as I do that, all the properties that I had baked into this view are now in this view template. Of course, I have no views applied to this template because I haven't even hit OK. And I've just simply made the template from this view. I haven't actually applied it to the view yet, but we have evidence of that. If I go to visibility graphics, I can see my ceilings at blue and 50% transparency, just like I had before. I can hit OK, and now I can apply that to the view, and I can see, okay, I'm going to choose RCP presentation, and there we go. Of course, nothing changed because I took the view properties of this view and made the template. Cool, that looks good. So in this case, maybe I've got an enlarged ceiling plan. And I've got it right here. So we can go to our enlarged ceiling plan. There we go. Now, maybe I want this to look a bit different. Maybe I do want this to be that same presentation quality. Well, of course, I can come up here and I can add the view template and do all the same. Now, like before, I have the scale. It's static. It's set at 1/8. And maybe I want this, to be larger because it's enlarged. But that's fine. I can do this and decide, well, that's a good scale, or maybe it's not. That's fine. So again, I was able to make a view based on all the properties that I'd like, and then I made a template from that particular view, and then I can start applying that wherever I want. And so if I come in here, I could see that, of course, now I've got number of views with this template assigned is now 2. That's cool. So this is something else to be aware of that I learned later on. But let's say I have this template. I have this view applied with the template that we just made, of course. And as I decide, this is pretty close to what I want, but I've got a lot, maybe this is a different presentation. I have different properties, I have different colors, I have different things that I'm using. And I want to start with this template, of course, because it looks good. Or maybe this view is so one-off that I don't quite want it to have the view properties that I really would have within this presentation, within this view template. And so I want it to be just slightly different. And this is just a one-off, for example, maybe. So what happens is I probably don't want this to be a part of the view template because that means I have to then decide, all right, I would change every other view or have to duplicate another one. And maybe it doesn't make sense. If this is like a one-off thing, you're just sending this one view and you need it to look a little different, but you don't want to change all the different view templates or change all the other views with this view template. Well, I can come into this view template and you can always turn the view template off. And that means, of course, the view properties, there's nothing here. And, we lose all of this information. It goes back to the view itself. You can start to override all those within the view. Now I want to hit OK. And as soon as I do that, you could see nothing happened, nothing changed. And so why is that? So the thing to be aware of is that whenever you change from, a view template to none and turning off the view template, essentially, you're then losing, that view associated to that view template. But all the properties that were a part of this view template that you previously had applied to that view will still be applied all the same, except that view will no longer be associated with that view template. So it's a quick way of deciding, well, I want this view to look like all of those, but it's a one-off. So I can just turn off the view template and decide, okay, maybe now I'll hit visibility graphics and I realize, well, this is the second presentation, so maybe I want to change this color to a green. Okay, that's easy enough. And so it's not a part of the view template because if I were to go back to my enlarged right here, I could see, well, this is part of the view template and it clearly is blue, whereas this view has no view template and it's green. So I'm able to override everything. So the idea is if you choose to apply a view template to a view and then you decide to turn it off and remove the view template so that there's no view template applied, you keep all the properties and all the information that was a part of that view template for that view, and then you can just manually override them as you need to. Now, I would do that sparingly because maybe there's certain times where this view should go back into the view template. I don't know, but it's very dependent on your project and your situation. Also, something to be aware of that a lot of times what I've seen a lot is that people make so many view templates. It's like every little possible change, every little thing is a different template. They'll just duplicate and make another one and make another one to the point where, you have one or just a few views on every view template. Now, that may be the case because it's really specific, but I wouldn't necessarily make view templates out the wazoo for no reason because they can be hard to manage. They certainly can be hard to manage. So the last thing I want to cover is if I come back into this view template here, I can see, if I choose visibility graphics again, we know that we're in a view template and we have a view template applied if all of these elements are grayed out. And of course, if I can come over here and see, yeah, I have a view template applied, plan, construction. Now, maybe I just for a second want to have full control over this view without removing the view template. How would we do that? There is a very easy way, and this is through the temporary view properties. And I've actually covered this in a previous video, so you can find that in the cards right now. But this is very powerful. As soon as I choose enable temporary view properties, I get, of course, the purple border. But there's something else I want to point you to. Looking at the left where my view template is, I can see it's grayed out. So like before, when I had a view template applied and I had all these different elements over here, a part of the view properties grayed out because they were in the view template. Now it's kind of the inverse. So now I can see my view template is grayed out. And now I have full control over all these different elements, all these different view properties. So if were to hit visibility graphics right now, I can see that I have full control over all these elements. And so maybe I don't want to see plumbing fixtures again. And this is, again, it's just temporary based on the temporary view properties. The idea is that I am temporarily altering the view properties. And so I can do all of this, that's fine. And, of course, I would highly recommend that you watch the video and see what you can do with the temporary view properties because you can do more than just this. But this is what I use it for primarily. I know I have a view template. I don't want to go into the view template, turn it off, change something, and then go back and apply the view template. It makes no sense. So what I'm doing here is just I'm changing some of the things that I'm looking at. I can even choose to hide other things, and maybe I don't want to see all of these right now. And I can just now go back and restore my view properties. And as soon as I do that, well, of course, what I chose to hide myself doesn't show back up. But what I chose to hide within the visibility graphics is all back. All the plumbing fixtures are back. And that's simply because it was a temporary fix. It was a temporary thing. So looking at my plumbing fixtures here, yeah, it's grayed out, but they're checked on. I can see that they're clearly there. That makes sense. So that's another way that you can keep the template on and start to change some of the things that you're looking at. So a lot of times what I'll do is I'll enable view temporary properties and I'll do everything that I need to. And, maybe I need to make a view look specific to something and I need to send that just the single view to the client. But I don't want to change. I don't want to make another view template for that particular view. I don't want to alter anything else. I don't want to turn it off, remove it from the view template, and then just put it back on after I've made the change. So I'll just simply enable view temporary properties and I can just deal with all of these properties on a temporary basis. And I can even print from the temporary properties and do what I need to, and then just simply revert back. I can, restore view properties and everything's back. The template's back. It's doing what it's supposed to do and absolutely everything. So that's going to do it for view templates. We covered absolutely everything that you might need to know about view templates. We looked at managing all the view templates and all the information over here that you need and how that is actually all the view properties that we've covered in other videos. Of course, we have the option of applying the view template, which we can do in the view properties, or we can also create a template from a current view. If you have a random view that looks good in a particular way or you like it and you want to make a view template based on that, do it. Do it that way. It's very simple to do. You can start applying that template with other views. And so all you need is that one view to start with. Of course, you can always duplicate any other template. there's a there's no create new template except for from creating from other views, but you can always duplicate from any other template that you have. So again, that will do it for this video. If you happen to learn something, which I sure hope you did, please demolish that like button and also consider changing the phase of that subscribe button to existing. That also helps me out so much. And I can't thank you all who have. If you have lasted this long in the video, you are awesome. And I really appreciate that so much. I sure hope you come back. See you in another video. Hope you have a wonderful day and thanks for watching.